Hello and welcome to the reading from Purpose of Life. Discourses drawn from the sacred Agasthiyar Vazhipaadu. Today's topic is Creation, the Divine Plan.
Creation, the Divine Plan. Sage Agastya says, the human body is as sacred as the cosmic body. It contains all the elements of the cosmic creation at a microcosmic level. Masked by the ignorance created by the human mind. Every cell in the human body represents the macrocosm and the microcosmic level. It is not easy for the ordinary human mind to spread across the vast expanse of the universe. Similarly, humans are not aware of the interplay of the eternal and temporal principles of male-female, cause and manifestation, operating every moment in their cells at the microcosmic level. The entire divine plan is operating on two principles: cosmic consciousness and cosmic energy.
Now, regarding this, there are a lot of things that are already Appa Agastya is saying in this. He's saying the human body is very sacred because it contains all the elements of the cosmic creation at a microcosmic level. That means that every cell in a body is a representation of the cosmic power. That is why if you hear, there are a lot of people who say, you can actually command your body to regenerate, to heal. But that kind of power comes only when, you go further on the spiritual path. And that is something that science is slowly discovering, that there is a relationship between our mind and the body, how our emotions affect the body, how the surroundings affect the body, because everything he says, as Appa says, is interrelated. Now, again, he says here, the ordinary human mind, it cannot comprehend the vastness of the universe. That is so true. As we have already talked about, if you watch the NASA videos, you start with the idea of the Earth, and then the space, and then the different, the vast universe. And as the video goes on, you begin to realize, oh my God, I am just a minuscule part of this big macrocosm. Yet, here Appa saying the human body is very sacred because it contains the essence of the macrocosm in every little cell in its body. So that is something we must always remember. Another thing he's saying is, we are not aware of the interplay of the eternal and the temporal principles of male, female, cause and manifestation, operating every moment in ourselves at the microcosmic level, which means there is a permanent, there are two things here. One is he's saying there is eternal interplay, then there is a temporal interplay. Now, temporal interplay would apply to the physical self. The eternal interplay applies to the soul as we know it, because the soul, no matter whether it merges with the absolute, it maintains it in individuality. So, and always there is a constant flux and interplay. So there's so much to learn in this. Another thing is, he's saying there is eternal. So what is eternal? So if we go into the concept of time as we know it, at this point we have centuries as far as the West is concerned. But Hinduism talks about Kalpa, which is the source, and then it talks about Chaturyugas, which are the 4 yugas. It talks about the 7 Manus, and then that particular time frame is like this. Each Manu has 7 days and 7 nights. And in that, each day or night, there are Chaturyugas. Chaturyugas are the 4 yugas. 71 Chaturyugas. So each Chaturyuga now has yugas. And each yuga is a 24,000, 48,000 period cycle. So if you start thinking that way, imagine it. Each Manu has a Chaturyuga, the 71 Chaturyugas, and each Chaturyuga has 4 yugas, and each yuga has a 48-year cycle. And then the day of the Manu passes, then the night of the Manu passes, then the second Manu comes into force. It's very, very difficult to actually comprehend this vastness of what we call time. And the same way, it is impossible to comprehend the universe or the created world because it is that vast. And this continues. So creation is a continuous cycle. It keeps going on and on and on. And that is what Appa is talking in terms of eternal. The temporal, which is temporary, would be just, the body coming in, reincarnating. So even in the body, you see that it exits the creation and of the body is destroyed, then it's again created through the man and woman. So that is how we have to understand all this is a constant interplay. Continue, Sister Symmetry.
Yeah. Cosmic consciousness is non-cognizable. It is beyond time and space. Man does not have the mechanism to measure the unlimited vastness of this cosmic consciousness. He will never be able to do this. It is beyond his capacity now and forever. In Upanishads, cosmic consciousness is known as Supreme Being, and the energy created is known as Maya. The Supreme Being is the creator of Maya, and Maya in turn is the creative force and the creating energy. In other philosophical terms, it is known as primordial power, Shiva, and manifesting energy, that is Shakti. The highest form of this is called Supreme Energy or Parashakti. The unknown origin of this energy, Shakti, is called the primordial force or Adi Parashakti.
Now, once again here, he's talking about the cosmic consciousness is known as the Supreme Being, and the energy that is created is called the Maya. So as we've already talked about, if you think of it as consciousness, at different levels of consciousness, and we compare all this to the dream state, then we realize that when we get up in the morning after a dream, that all that was illusion. So in the same way, when we get up from the illusion of the creation or the creative energy, which is Maya, which makes everything tangible to us, everything to be seen and heard by us, then we realize that we are part of the absolute. And that is Jivan Mukti. That is liberation. Go ahead, Sister Symmetry. Go ahead, Sister Symmetry.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I was muted. These two are also called the male, Purusha, and female, Prakriti, principles. But ultimately, there is no male and female. When the male and the female principles unite, there exists nothing. Devoid of normal consciousness, everything merges. Everything is light, bliss, and ecstatic experience.
Here, Appa is actually talking about the final stage that a soul reaches, which is a stage beyond duality. Because what is it that causes us to differentiate between day and night, man and woman, a person who witnesses and somebody who's acting? All this is Maya, or that which is the creative principle. So when we go beyond that, there is no longer any duality. So what is it that we will experience at that time as a soul that is completely liberated? We experience light and bliss and incredible love. And that is the final stage of our evolution on the spiritual path. When we reach that stage, that is all that remains: light, bliss, and universal love. It's just beautiful, supreme consciousness. Go ahead.
We have the male and female principles in the grosser level, in the male and female bodies. We have the male and female principles in the subatomic level, in the positive and negative units of the atom, the protons and the electrons. In the grosser level, which represents nature, the physical union between the male and female represents the natural tendency of the merging of the male and the female principles. Conjugal love is the microcosm of the cosmic dance, that is Shiva Tandava, of the macrocosm. Both are the same, but the levels are different.
So here, what Appa is doing is actually he's giving us a very simple example to understand what is happening at the macrocosmic level. He's just talking about the physical union between a husband and wife. So, you know, it is basically, he's not saying, okay, he's basically saying what happens during that moment, just that single moment, is exactly what happens when you reach the cosmic consciousness. So we must not think of it as a very gross, at a very gross level. We must think of it as an example of what bliss, that pure bliss that we'll experience when we reach liberation.
Close your eyes, reach a higher consciousness, extend your gift of imagination, and view the cosmic dance in the light of the 9 emotional principles or Navarasas. You will see Lord Nataraja dancing in ecstasy. The creating principle joins in this great celestial performance. During this cosmic dance, there is a momentous event taking place. Thunder, lightning, pouring rain, lashing of winds, trembling of the earth, lava erupting from lofty mountains, and the trembling of the plants and animals. Although this appears to the ordinary mind as the unleashing of a great destructive force, it is not that. It is a great leveling force. It is like the white paint on the canvas of an artist, which is necessary to create beautiful forms. This is the cosmic dance at the macrocosmic level. Now, the conjugal union between man and woman passes through many of these events, where force and play of energy is witnessed. Ultimately, there is a merging of the body and mind, resulting in a short span of void, which is similar to the cosmic void that is witnessed when the created merges back into the creator.
So here again, Appa is talking about, you know, when we reach that particular moment of, say, when the creating principle joins or in our terms exits from the absolute, that's when creation happens, or when it rejoins the absolute. He's talking about the Mahapralaya, the time when creation ceases to exist and exists, and then it begins again. So he's saying that every time the cycle of creation happens, everything is destroyed, and again new life is formed. New creation comes into force. So it is not something to be afraid of. But here, there's a very important thing we all must remember. We are now going through the final phases of our yugas, the yuga that we are going through. For us, it is like a lot of more human years. It will continue even after we are gone. But we must remember this. If we can manage to reach the absolute by making the effort, when we return to the absolute, when the creation cycle again happens, we will not come back. Otherwise, every soul that remains without reaching the absolute in the next few incarnations or more incarnations until this yugas finish, they will have to come back. They will continue to be emitted. They'll come back to experience and express, which means they will undergo the illusion of Maya, which means they'll go through all the suffering and the pain until they reach the stage where they can say, oh my God, I have to get out of this merry-go-round. I have to get off the cycle of birth and death and return to the liberator or the absolute, which means now we can make a choice. Do we want to continue to do this? Come back several times once this yuga is over and the next day or night of Manu starts. Do we want to come back and go through this all over again? Or do we want to change the course of our spiritual evolution? That's a big question we can ask ourselves as we read this particular paragraph. Go ahead, Sister Smith.
For a moment, there is no creator or the created. This is the ultimate bliss. The result of this blissful union is the creation of new life. Now you see a striking similarity between the macrocosmic event in the universe and the microcosmic action in the human level. In the macrocosmic level, the eternal principle is the male, temporal is the female, and the created are all their children. In the microcosmic level, man is the male, woman is the female, and the child is the created. In this way, man and woman symbolize the Atman that is neither male or female. These male and female manifestations are necessary for procreation. This is what is termed as the microcosmic merging with the macrocosmic, the river merging with the ocean.
Right. Here, again, what he is talking about is the eternal and the temporal principles as manifested as the creator and the creating principle, the absolute and the creative energy, the Shiva, or we can call it anything, and the Shakti. But the whole idea here is everything that is happening in the earth level, where we can understand what is going on, the dreams, our body, even the act of procreation, everything is, it shows us what happens at the macrocosmic level. So we are an example of what happens in the macrocosmic level. All the secrets of creation is hidden in us, in the created world. For us to know, for us to unravel, for us to understand, for us to discover. Go ahead.
It is this principle that is symbolized in the lingam. When a Shaivite worships the lingam as an object, he should be aware that he is worshipping the ultimate forms of Shiva and Parvati. Thus, the conjugal union between man and woman should be viewed at a higher level as part of the divine act. It is the same principle working in Kundalini also.
Very important. Now, when Papa is talking about this, he says the conjugal union between a man and woman should be viewed at a higher level as part of the divine act. We have examples of Lahari Mahashaya. He is the Paramaguru of Yogananda. And we have the example of even Yogananda's parents. And they understood this concept because the only time the husband and wife came together was for procreation and nothing else. So what Appa is saying is, remember, this is a divine act. As a father and mother, you are doing what the Creator does. You're creating new life. So another thing that we have to understand is when there is this conjugal relationship between a father and mother, to be, or husband and wife, the thoughts we have at the time of conception are very important because where the souls are out there waiting to be procreated, they're waiting for the correct wavelength, correct frequency. So what kind of person the father or the mother is, their characteristics, what they have, the predominant thoughts they have during the conjugal union are so important to attract the correct kind of soul. So usually if you see, the most blessed souls are born in very spiritual families because like attracts like. The more purer your consciousness, so we must understand that every man and woman or a young couple who's going to procreate must view it as a very responsible and divine act. They have to view it as a big responsibility that God has given to bring good, pure souls into the world. Not that in any soul is impure, all souls are pure, but many of the souls, like us, continue to have all the samskaras that is attached to us, both good and bad. So try to find something with a more balance of purity. So we have, because right now what is happening is there's more imbalance, there's more evil than good. So we need to bring in more good souls into the world, or souls with good karma, so that we can balance the earth. So this is a very important period of time when every one of us has this responsibility, or who's able to procreate. So once again, we have to understand that every single thing that Appa is saying in these words have a lot of meaning. Go ahead, Sister Smith.
Kundalini is represented by a triangle in Tantric philosophy and is the center of great divine energy. When Kundalini is raised to the Sahasrara, that is the crown chakra, it merges with the superconscious principle. Thus, Kundalini is female or Shakti, and Sahasrara, Shiva, or the male principle or superconsciousness. The merging of the two principles creates a phenomena that are beyond expression in ordinary human language. An enlightened person witnesses bright light and sound. The flowers of the Sahasrara, that crown chakra, open, exposing brilliant colors, spreading their aroma to the world around. That is the state of the person who has experienced that bliss. That bliss is experienced in the causal body.
Here, very important things. Here, Appa is very clearly, Appa Agastya is very clearly explaining what happens when Kundalini, the divine energy that is, corresponding to the base of a spine, that is the area that it is in the human body. And we cannot say that it's like in a physical form. No, it's just a symbolism of the divine energy that is there. Rises to the Sahasrara, which is on the crown of the head. Then this is how the whole thing happens. What happens is, there's the brilliant colors and the spreading of the aroma to the world around. He's basically talking about a person who has experienced this bliss. One who's become liberated, reached the stage of understanding the mergence of the soul with the Paramatman. That is the opening of the flowers or the Sahasrara. And believe me, you actually feel that the little petals opening. It's a very subtle feeling, but it happens. And when that happens, then there is a bliss that the person experienced that is beyond this world. And Appa has blessed me with a very small, minute experience of both the opening of the Sahasrara, just a little bit, and the experience of the bliss long time ago. Because I think he knew that one day I'll be explaining this and I'll have to have undergone that experience. But I am not telling you at this point that I am completely, reached that place. No, I am not. I'm working on it. We are all working on it. We are all on the same place. But I was given a peek into that. And I have recorded in my diary. So that bliss when you experience, as I shared with you before, is beyond anything you will ever experience as a human being with the temporal things that surround us. It is pure bliss. It is a kind of happiness that is beyond any kind of explanation. It just comes like a fountain. So now, knowing all this, knowing what Appa says, this is the state of the person who has experienced that bliss. We must understand that when we look at gurus who claim to be something, they've experienced something, can we feel that from them? So not all of the gurus have experienced that. Some have. I'm not saying no. In the current world, who are at this moment manifested in the physical form, some of them have. They do attract a lot of people because when you're around such a person, you feel completely calm. You can feel their energy because it is so strong, it's so beautiful, it envelops you completely. So when you are talking to somebody or meeting somebody who says they have reached that stage, remember these words of Appa. then you will know, your soul will know whether that person has really reached that stage or not. Because many of the gurus are still on the path. And that is something to remember here. He's also talking about what happens when the Kundalini reaches the Sahasrara, and also comparing it to the microcosm of the human soul reaching the macrocosm, and when there is nothing but pure bliss and light, and he says sound. Go ahead, sister.
Such a person attracts followers. People gather around him like a bee attracted by the scent of a flower, and he feeds them with the nectar of hidden knowledge that is expressed through him. So, finally, the goal of a spiritual aspirant is to reach this stage of consciousness and give the world that knowledge that is not within the easy reach of other seekers.
Once
When the
more,
candle, yeah.
once more. Here, Appa says such a person attracts followers, and people gather around him. He feeds them with the nectar of hidden knowledge that is expressed through him. So when you read further later in the other book, the Agastya, the Siddha Principles, you will understand what Appa calls a Siddha. Nowadays, we are talking about, when we say Siddha, we are only talking about or understanding the idea of supernatural powers, Anima, Garima, and all those things. But they're not physical manifestations of powers. When we are talking about the Siddhis, we are talking about a person who has understood the entire play of the microcosm and macrocosm, understood his real being as a part of the macrocosm, who is a Jivan Mukta, who is a Siddha, and he is able to express the hidden knowledge. So, Appa says in one of the books, the one who can explain something, the one who can answer a question without having to go back and think about it or look at some books to research, that person is a liberated soul. That person has connected with the cosmic knowledge. So that is another indication of a Siddha. A Siddha is not someone who has supernatural powers as we see it. Siddha is a person who has understood what is there, what is the secret of creation, because of the fact that he has become one with the Absolute, who has understood his soul as the part of the Absolute. He has completely reached the stage of divine realization. So we must always remember that Siddha is one who has complete knowledge, that he has understood the cosmic knowledge and he can explain it to us or share it with us the moment we ask him. So you should not become so enamored by people who say, oh, I can create the aroma of flowers, I can do this, and I can produce this. All those are still not the perfection. Those are all siddhis. Those are all small powers that everybody, all of us can get it. Because if you remember, Appa says, the human body is the element of the macrocosm. It has all the powers of the macrocosm. It's just a question of realizing it. So each one of us is capable of doing it. Each one of us will go through it as we go further in the, spiritual path. But that is not the end. We should not become distracted by that. Real Siddha is one who has complete knowledge. Knowledge is the key to Siddhi. Go ahead, sister.
So, when the candle burns, it illuminates its surroundings, helping others to see things. It clears the path. After it is completely burnt, there is no candle, there is no wick, there is no light. What has happened to that light? It has expanded. So also must every spiritual aspirant be like the candle. He must illuminate others to the utmost capacity, shed his gross body, and live in the hearts of those who come to him. Be a light of love, illumination, the light of consciousness, knowledge, and dharma. Om Tat Sat.
Beautiful. Now, Appa again is giving some beautiful examples. He's saying, when the candle burns, it illuminates its surroundings, helping others to see things. So, what is it that a spiritual aspirant must do? A spiritual aspirant, when he reaches the stage or when he's on the path, he can start spreading light. When he and and light the same light that is within him in others too. So that is what happens when we are talking to somebody who is a guru, a real guru, who is teaching us something. That knowledge starts seeping into us. We connect with his consciousness. We become more and more realized, right? We become, our understanding becomes better and better. So what happens to the candle? He says, once it is, it is completely given everybody everything that it has, there is no more candle, because that candle's light has already gone into everybody else's souls. So spread the light. That's what he's saying. Spread the light of knowledge. As you are learning, as you're realizing the knowledge, don't keep it within yourself. Spread it. And he also says, once you illuminate everybody, then you continue start living in the hearts of everyone else. That is how we revere Shirdi Sai Baba or any of the great ones, Yogananda, because they have shed the light of knowledge, and they, even though the physical body is gone, they continue to live on in the consciousness, because all of consciousness start becoming connected with that. So that brings us to the end of this chapter, and we will be talking about the macrocosm and microcosm next week. But meanwhile, if there are any thoughts and discussions, please share.